Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another edition of Football Theory. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, of course, joined by the coach, former high school football coach at Bernie, Capel, Brownwood, Rotan, Belton. Also was a former college football player at Abilene Christian, coach there on multiple stints, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head coaches. It is our coach, Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, what's happening? How you doing?
Hey, Coach, glad to be here again. Glad to be here on Football Theory. I know I can learn a lot from you. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room, of course, which is the injuries at the running back position for Texas. They had the loss of Cedric Baxter, and then not less, I think a week, probably not a week had passed, and then they learned there was also a season-ending injury to Christian Clark as well, who was one of the depth pieces, the freshman, and he's out for the season. So you're down to 3 scholarship running backs. They're moving guys and changing positions for some guys to try to contribute to the depth there at running back. So we'll talk about the things that Sark could do, maybe should do, maybe would do, now knowing that your identity as an offense is going to change a little bit. You know, I always say that coaches, they always have a vision. And you know this, Coach. Now, I want to ask you, maybe I'll just start off asking you this. Do coaches every year, do you have a vision for how you think your team, how you believe your team is going to look, the identity of the team, pretty much, the offense and the defense and everything?
Yeah, I think you go into camp, you know, with a pretty good idea, especially with, you know, a pretty intense spring ball. Yeah. But you don't ever really know. You know, you got your transfer portal guys who maybe you haven't seen yet that weren't here in the spring. You got high school 5-star guys that could contribute as true freshmen. And so and then it's, you know, it's just like you put all the ingredients together over the last 9 months. Now you got to see what you're baking. You know, you got to see. Yeah, you got to see if you're going to have a hot dog or a ribeye. You know, a T-bone. You know, and so you see how they all blend together and how well they all fit into the culture that you've worked 3 years to create. And but I think you have a vision. Yeah, I think you have a good idea of what you hope this team's going to be because of the leaders in the past year or two that you have returning that are not going to settle for anything less than the standard that's already been set.
And it's got to be satisfying when the team actually they achieve that vision. Like it was almost like at that point you feel almost clairvoyant. Like you were able to foreshadow. Like I knew exactly how the team was going to look, and it came to fruition. But like you said, I think most of the time you're surprised. I think last year for Sark, that team came pretty close to looking like his vision. I think it did. I think we all kind of saw it building and with that group, right? We had seen Xavier Rhodes since he was a freshman. We had seen a young JT Sanders. We knew the running back room and what it produced. And then you had Quinn and his growth and the offensive line. It felt like they were building up to a crescendo. Now you got a lot of pieces that are new to this team and culture with the guys coming in. Did the transfer portal, a lot of transfer portal guys coming in. And for Quinn, he's one of those guys that I think gives you at least the centerpiece to whatever the vision is going to be. But I think, put it like this, I had a coach, Ray Horton, who always told me life and football are constant struggles deciding between what you want to be and what you need to be in order to survive. And I think what Texas needs to be may be different than what Sark wanted to be now with the injuries at running back, which we'll talk about. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Laura Baker. Football Theory is brought to you by accomplished Austin realtor Laura Baker. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime real estate expert. So please give her a shout today, 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. So that's what we're going to talk about. Just, things that Sark now may need to emphasize, things that he may need to lean on, tactics, strategies, concepts, coach, that now may be able to help forge what is a new identity and a new vision for Sark, because it's going to be a little bit different with the injuries at running back. So one thing you brought up in one of our earlier conversations, I'm not sure if we talked about this on the air, off the air, coach, because we end up on the Winning Drive together and end up doing Football Theory together. And I'm always having a good time and learning. You said something that was pretty simple. And I thought to myself, I never really have pondered it, but it makes a lot of sense. You said, man, they should just try to score first.
Yeah. I mean, especially if the offense is the strength of your team, I don't have any stats to back that, but I know when I was coaching, I always took the ball. I never deferred to the second half. To me, that's a little bit, you trust your defense, but I want to set the tone for the game, and you have a pretty good idea of what you don't know for sure how they're going to adjust to what you're going to throw out there, your formations and motions and shifts. Mm-hmm. But you have a pretty good idea. And a lot of times defenses, especially that first series, they'll stay pretty plain. You don't want to show your hand too soon defensively, on maybe your strategy to stop. So I say, if it's all gas, no brakes, why are we deferring to the second half? I mean, all gas. All gas means I'm going to take the ball every time, and I've got well thought out, conceptualized first drive plays that can't lose almost. And I say, we talked about this. I want that other sideline going, and our guys used to do that on the sideline for fun. We'd make a big play and, get the momentum, and they start saying, here it comes, And so I like to score first. I want the ball first. I mean, I feel like if you can get the momentum starting off the game, then you can get that team on its heels. Like I said, I don't do the research that you do. I don't know about any stats. I don't know if there's that one high school coach in Arkansas. He onside kicked every time. And I think maybe he even went for two every time. I can't remember. That's a little bit overboard for me. I'm not quite that much of a progressive gambler, Mr. Vegas, but I do believe in taking the ball and having success early and trying to get that momentum on your side.
Yeah, it's interesting because I believe you're in the minority there too, coach. Don't you think that most coaches?
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Every coach defers. That's just what you do. But my question is why? Why?
I don't have a good answer for you because I went and did a little digging when you told me that, and I was like, that sounded simple, but coach made a good case. How about this stat? This is from the NFL, so it's hard to find stats on this unless you're just doing your own research. In the last 10 years, all right, teams who score first in the NFL win 64% of the games in the last 10 years. To me, that's pretty glaring. I'm like, whoa, that's wild. And how about this? I found this in, it was actually 4 weeks, 1-0. So it's a 2-week sample of college football 2 years ago. Actually, it's last year. I picked it back. Not last year, 2022. So 2022, not 2023. And it said the teams that scored first won 78% of the games in that sample size. Now, it didn't say if they took the ball. I didn't get into all that. That's different. So you can take the ball, and you get the punt or whatever, have a turnover, and then the other team score first. But just to your point, your basic point about just score first. If you just get points on the board first, the numbers back you up, Coach, that I don't know why it matters, but it does seem to matter. Maybe it's just, like you said, factor, and it's a confidence thing. I don't know. I have no idea. I'll do some other research, but that is interesting. And I went and looked at Sark's last 7 losses. The other team scored first in 6 of them.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years with Sark, the opposing, like I said, I didn't go look at, I just looked at really quickly who scored first, but I didn't look at who had to, won the toss and who deferred or whatever. But to your point, it does matter. The numbers, it matters.
Most play callers I've been around on both sides of the ball, like I said, it's a total opposite philosophy. Defense, they're going to come out and they're plain Jane because they're not going to show you the stuff they put on for you right out of the bat. But the offense, they want to get you on your heels and they want to get you guessing and thinking, we hadn't even seen this stuff, and so now you kind of, sometimes if it's a mentally weak player, so to speak, he may have that moment and he starts forgetting about all that stuff they worked on, your bread and butter all week, and he starts going, man, what they're doing is, the keys aren't the same, everything's off. It's not what we worked on, Coach, and you're going to come back to your bread and butter, but you got to, I just think psychologically it renders itself well because defenses like to stay base first series. And so as an offense, I'm going to throw stuff at you hadn't seen yet and script it out pretty well because, you watch the defense long enough, there's some stuff that's going to work. You can't run it all the time. You can run it once or twice, and you can almost guarantee it's going to work. So you get a whole first drive script of those plays, and all of a sudden you got the momentum. And apparently a better chance to win the football game according to your stats.
Yeah, ain't no doubt. I was, like I said, it blew me away, and I was like, hey, coach is on to something, which that did not surprise me. Some of the thing I thought was interesting, I went and looked out at the Big 12 package. I figured, if you're lacking in depth and talent in the running back room, hey, let's just put some more big humans up there, more mass, and see if Texas can run the rock that way. And I was a little surprised. Actually, Texas did not improve on their run game in their Big 11, Big 12 package. Coach put Malik Ogbo on the field, the extra offensive lineman. The yards per rush actually dropped, not significantly, just slightly. The yards per rush dropped to a little bit below 5 yards per rush from 2022. You were a little bit over 5 yards per rush, and in 2023, a little bit below 5 yards per rush. But what was interesting was the yards per attempt rose significantly. The yards per attempt rose to over 10 yards per attempt, and you were at 6.4 yards per attempt by my metrics in 2022 out of the 6-0 line package. So it may not necessarily help you in the run game, but it definitely helps you in the passing game. And something else I found was that Texas's straight drop back pass rate under Sark is probably hovering somewhere around 35 to 37, 38%, somewhere around there. But his straight drop back pass rate in that Big 11, Big 12 package, coach, it was actually hovering close to 50%. So basically he used it. He almost rope-a-dope the defense last year with it. Everybody thought run, big linemen, present power personnel. But when he presented it, he would pivot to a straight drop back situation, and it actually paid dividends. Yards per attempt went up. So he should use it more, but it may not necessarily help you in the run game like I initially thought.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like it. Like I said, it's something else, that the statistics back up exactly what you're talking about, when they do that. And I think Sark is pretty good at throwing defenses off. He's pretty good at giving them new looks and new things. As you and I have talked before, what is hard to understand sometimes is why he doesn't go back to it.
Yeah.
Like the pony package and the success, in the playoff or the bowl game and the pony package both years, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, every year.
Yeah, and we just that's the problem with scripted plays. You stay with the script, but you have to make good notations of what combination you threw at them that was successful. Star that, circle it, do whatever, and come back. And especially if your back's up against a wall or you're having a little trouble moving the ball, come back to those things. Mm-hmm. And I think the different personnel packages that you've referenced are a good way to do it.
Speaking of personnel packages, I think you should lean more on the pass and without obviously your marquee running backs and without the depth and talent there. Should lean a little bit more on the pass to open up the run. You still can keep the balance. But I think some of your early, as we discussed on some of the previous football theories, your early down pass rate should rise a little bit. But what the red package that Sark used, I'll throw this out there too, that he used at Alabama, 10 personnel with 4 wide receivers on the field. I think that's something he should consider. We've discussed it on the show a little bit, not ad nauseum, and we'll dive deeper when we have more clues that he may actually use it. But I think it would be something that would help them this year because I think the passing game is going to lead the way for them. Your strength pretty much determines your identity. And right now with Quinn, the wide receivers, I think, coach, the strength is the passing game. And I think the more options, the more ways you can present and display that, I think the better. And I think that red package, which is that 10 personnel grouping, might help that.
I would like to. I wonder what were the circumstances where we went straight drop back. Was it a situation? It was an obvious passing down because our completion percentage goes way up when we throw in the play action, the boots, the RPOs and that kind of stuff.
The
It
screen
goes
game
up significantly.
Yeah.
And so if it's straight drop back, it'd be interesting to go back and track the straight drop backs and see what the situation was. If it was 2-minute offense, if it was right before halftime, at the end of the game, stuff where everybody knew you were going to be throwing it, because he has a tremendous amount of success. And he may have the other too. I don't know about that part of his life, but I'm just kidding. I almost said something. Said he has sex, but I said success. But I mean, when you go back and look at it, the RPOs and the play action pass, man, that's our bread and butter.
Yep.
That's what makes that machine go. And so anyway, it'd be something to look at.
I might take a look at that, Coach. In addition, that's a good point about the deception-based passing game, RPOs and play action pass. The screen game is another big part of that for Sark. I went and looked at his screen rate last year. It was around 18%. I think that is something that should go up a little bit. Some of the other teams in the SEC, Tennessee's above 25%, OU's around 22%. Carson Beck was at 23% with Georgia. I think actually Texas could stand because Sark is a brilliant screen designer. Very sophisticated, almost elegant screen designs by Sark. That could increase a little bit. And those are handoffs, right? Those are essentially extensions of the run game anyway. I think that's something you should see a 5% increase or so from, maybe even, get to 25% of your passing game is screen game, because Sark could do that if you include the wide receiver screens and the running back screens as well. That's something you may see a little increase in that I think would help kind of cushion the blow of losing some of those backs.
And, that's a really compliment to the receiver coach and the line coach in terms of, because it's easy to draw it up and it's easy for the quarterback to dump the screen, whether it's a dump over the top or if it's a quick pass to a tunnel screen inside or whatever. But what makes it look, you don't even notice the blocking.
Yep.
I mean, you just take for granted, and it's really important for linemen. The defensive linemen know when that guy 1,001, 1,002 and he shucks you, they're going with you. In fact, I've thought many times I ought to just, we got a guy that keeps kicking our butt. Let's just act like it's a screen and just send the get that guy out of there so he's not rushing. Let him follow that dude thinking it's a screen. I mean, it might work. I don't know. If he get his butt kicked every day, to the sideline to see if that dude follows him.
Man, that's great.
But our receivers coach and Flood have done a great job with blocking schemes on those screens, because without that, man, you're wasting your time.
No, you're right about that, Coach. And it's like you have to be there's a little acting involved there for the O lineman too, and everybody involved. No, I think it's a good point. I love that. Hey, you know what? You're so bad anyway. Let's just act like it's a screen. Just get it.
Get that big dude out of here. We should have done that. We should have done that to Sue in the Big 12 championship back in 2000.
Can we have done to Sue? Can we have done that to Sue? Honestly, Coach, I was thinking the same thing. That's a great point. All right, a couple other things here before we get out of here. One thing's interesting. The wide receiver run game. It is something that Sark has dabbled in. We've seen the reverses with Xavier Worthy. You've seen a little bit of it with Jay Witt. I think he dabbled in a little bit. He's lined some receivers up in the backfield at times too, and ended up throwing screen passes to him or swing passes to him. But I was looking at a stat from StatCat about the wide receiver run game in the SEC. Turns out year over year, it was a 20% drop in the wide receiver run game. But if you look at their wide receiver run game without reverses, so that's a lot of your jet sweeps and your handoffs in that way. So reverses are tough at times because they're long developing plays. Either they're going to hit, Coach, like or it's going to be a huge miss and a loss. But over 9 yards per rush and a 32% explosive play rate in the wide receiver run game. Like I said, that's mostly your jet sweeps, and some of that is kind of inside handoffs, or you can hand it to them down the line. That is something that Sark I wonder could dabble into. People talk about Silas Bolden having versatility in that way. A guy like Matthew Golden's great with the ball in his hands. Maybe that's a way to boost the running game just a little bit. More of the wide receiver run game with your jet sweep action, and maybe not the long reverses, but the reverses of Sark that Sark likes are the ones where the receiver's tight to the line of scrimmage. He's basically in a flex position there, and then it works like a kind of a handoff pretty much. More so than a reverse.
Especially since we're going to have some new guys, some position change guys, possibly getting some time at running back, and so.
Oh, that's good, coach.
Yeah, so you don't know for sure if he's back there as a ball carrier or he's going to be a blocker or he's going to motion out, because you've got some pretty athletic guys that they've looked at running back in the past week. And so that just enables you to just mess with people more, One thing I like, that reverse is a slow development play, but if you catch him in man-to-man, you run that toss and you fake the reverse to the Z or the X, and you don't got to block the corner that way because he's hauling butt across the field because it's man-to-man. And that receiver, when that ball snapped, or he may be coming in a quick little in motion, and then he takes off for a reverse. I don't know why people don't do that more. Fake that reverse.
Yeah.
And because when people see that receiver coming, it freezes a lot of people and it gives you a chance to get up on your blocks, especially if it's man-to-man. If it's a zone, he's going to stay there. It's not going to be that effective. But if it's man-to-man, he's going to be running inside, and that's just one less guy you've got to block. One less block you have to get. Yeah. And I'm all about. That's why I don't like to run, tight formations, the squeeze formations, because that's especially running the ball. I love throwing the ball out of it, but running the ball, you just bring in more tacklers in there. You're bringing in more opportunities for missed blocks. I don't want to be, I don't want to be negative, but that's the truth of the matter. I don't want to have to block. I just another chance for somebody to miss a block. So get them out of there.
Yeah. Anyway, I like that. That's a good point. I never thought about that, but you're right about that. Another thing I throw out there is more quick game. I only looked at the stats. Sark's quick game. That's 0 to 9 yards. That's 0 to 3-step drops. So 3-step drops or fewer, 0 to 9 yards. And he's around 55%. I think that is something that you could boost to 60% because you need the quick game to be basically an extension of the run game. Quick passes, muscle memory throws, second nature throws for Quinn. We're talking about the smoke routes, the hitch routes, the slant routes, any swing screens, and obviously a lot of RPO game is basically quick game as well. I think you up that a percentage too to supplement for what you lose in the run game. That's essentially a long handoff, and I think that's something that Quinn can do and get him in a rhythm early on in games too. And you can increase the early down pass rate, but you won't have to be increasing the risk that you take by throwing the football.
Well, what you described was Mike Leach's philosophy.
Yeah, it was
a quick pass. It's just a run. It's a run. You get 3 yards. You may get 3 to 5 yards running the ball. We'll get 3 to 5 yards, on this. But it also sets up maybe. A type play where you pump the quick pass, and then you got somebody else blocking, and then don't you hate that as a DB? They're stalking you, and then the quarterback pumps it, and you're breaking on the ball, and that dude takes off, wheeling up the sideline.
Yeah,
and it's tough when there's just so many things you can do off of that. But it's just I think that's a great idea, just a way to use it it's a high completion percentage. Use it as it's just like a run,
Yeah, it's just like a run play. No, you're right about that about Mike Leach. I remember that. Kind of brought me. I had flashbacks just now because you're talking about it. That's exactly what they do. They love you to sleep. That same screenplay, that same screen over and over again, the tunnel or the bubble or whatever. And then that dude once he runs out there and they cut. Oh man! So they call it at the perfect time. And Sark does that really well too. Sark has used that a couple times. Sark likes the delayed release. He doesn't do the stalk block. He does the delayed release, like the tight end stays in the block, 1,000, 2,000, and he's gone. So you take your eyes off of him. Boom. He occupies those eyes with those concepts. All right. Good stuff there, Coach. Appreciate you as always. Let's thank our fantastic sponsor, Laura Baker, before we get out of here one more time. Football Theory brought to you by accomplished Austin realtor Laura Baker. Laura and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. So please give her a shout today at 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. Thank you very much to Laura Baker for being part of the On Texas Football family, but also for sponsoring the show Football Theory. Thank you, Coach, for all of your wisdom. I appreciate it. I leave here smarter and a better football theorist every time. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for making everything happen, twisting and tweaking the dials. Thank you to Laura Baker for sponsoring Football Theory. And thank you to all of you for listening and for watching. Until next time, for Coach, for Matthew, for On Texas Football, and for Laura Baker, hook 'em horns.